Welcome, everybody. This is a labor of love. This is our very first holistic panel. As we go through this, one of the things you're going to learn a little bit about the panel and about IDLife is simply what IDLife is about. And part of my job tonight is to tell you about who IDLife is and what we are and why we exist. The simple answer is about 8 years ago, a good friend of mine and some other folks decided that we were going to start this little company to basically try to put a dent in the universe. They say only the crazy ones that think they can are the ones that actually do. And what I mean by that is we had a very novel concept, which is no two people are designed the same. What I mean by that is it comes from the name IDLife, individually designed life. Each of us is a little bit unique. Each of us, what we need is a little bit unique. But most importantly, what we were going to do is give people real information that they could actually put into action that was going to get them the results that they had always only dreamed of by providing them information about themselves rather than general information about everybody. Now, what does that mean? What that means is this isn't a diet fad. This isn't a get, skinny quick type thing. What this is scientific backed information to provide you a guided tour on getting you the results that you've always wanted. So you may be here because, you want help with sleep. Great. We have something to help you with that. You may be somebody here that, needs help with energy. We have something for that. It could be something as little as you need more month than the money that you have, because right now, most people have less month than the money that they have. It may be just the opportunity that IDLife provides, or it could be something even more, which is, why has this always worked for everybody else, but never worked for me? See, because we also dive deep into science in the form of genetic testing and simplify it down to give you an understanding of why you can have an owner's manual that will give you all of the answers that you always wanted and stop having to make you fail your way to the right answer. Now, I will tell you, the one thing that IDLife does do along the way is it takes away all of the excuses. So, one of the good things is you're going to have your owner's manual. The bad thing is there's no more excuses associated with it, because now you know how you were made and you know the diet and lifestyle habits that you're choosing on a daily basis that are getting you the results that you're currently getting. And we put you on the path to getting you the results that you always wanted. In fact, this panel here tonight is going to be talking about just that. What they're going to be talking about is how they have used the tools, the resources, and the other items that IDLife provides and put them into action to help other people, because ultimately that is the value that IDLife provides. A lot of people look at companies and they say, okay, well, what's the opportunity? What if the opportunity was that you could touch another human being in a way that was going to provide them a way out, an answer that they've always wanted? That's what IDLife does. It allows you the tools and resources to help others. And that's what tonight's about. In fact, we have three very special panelists. One is Krista Fudge. She's been in the sports kind of industry for 15 years. She's a personal trainer, has her own gym for the last 11 years where she does one-on-one nutritional counseling. And while she's the only non-doctor on the stage, she does have one very important title, and that is mom of a 6-year-old and twin 3-year-olds. So yeah, she stays quite busy. Then you have Dr. Ram. Angie was of all things, fast food entrepreneur. She actually owns several fast food restaurants, hair salons, commercial real estate, and then life hit her between the eyes in her 40s due to some personal things that required her to take a look at what she was doing. And what she decided was to take the bull by the horns and become a doctor of naturopathic medicine. And then, of course, you have Dr. Cantera, who immigrated to this country with nothing and used the American dream as a way to become a paramedic in a level 1 trauma center, that to become a doctor of chiropractic medicine, and then eventually going on and getting certified in functional medicine. So for each panelist, Krista, let's start with you. One of the things I wanted to ask each person was, you probably get pitched with hundreds, if not thousands of things on a regular basis. What was it about IDLife that caught your eye and actually made you say, okay, I want to know more about this?
Great question. Yes, we get mailed samples at least once a month. And I literally throw away most of it because ingredients are very, very important to me. Sucralose and red dyes and all that stuff. Like the first thing I do is look at the ingredients. And if it has any of that, I throw it in the trash. So that was the first thing that caught my attention with IDLife. It was all clean, gluten-free, all that stuff. So I was like, hey, let me actually look into this. And the thing that really made me move forward with it was that it was not a fix, like a fake. There's a lot of companies out there that advertise, just take this pill and you'll lose 30 pounds. And that's all a lie. IDLife is very much about creating the foundational habits and building on a solid foundation of nutrition. And then the results happen. So that really hit my core, and I was like, I have the same beliefs. So
yeah, you touched on something that I'm glad that you did, which is, by the way, if you're on the webinar looking for the super pill, you're not going to find it here because we don't have a super pill. What we have is real information for real people looking for real results. Angie, Dr. Ram, same question. You have an interesting background, and then life hits you in the face. But there was something about IDLife that caught your attention. So why don't we talk about what that was?
So what was really interesting for me is just shortly before being actually introduced to IDLife at our healing center, I would often say, if we could just have a way to cross-reference all these supplements that people are bringing in with the medications they're taking, and it probably wasn't 3 months later in walks someone, a friend of mine who had been introduced to IDLife. And I looked at it, and literally within 10 minutes of seeing the assessment that we offer for free, I call up my husband, I call up my best friend, I get her social security number. I'm like, we need to do this because this is going to simplify our lives. This is going to simplify our patient's life. And there was really no looking back, because I knew now what I was offering was going to be safe and effective. And it would really, with having thousands of dollars of supplements from probably 6, 7 different supplement companies, it really just completely simplified and my life and saved so much money. And if you've ever been to a holistic practitioner's office, it's overwhelming, and you'll walk out of there spending $300, $400, $500. And now I could get people out of my office and get amazing results. And all you have to do is help one person. And I was fortunate enough to be able to offer IDLife to a very good friend of mine. And I'll never look back. And she's so grateful that, I'm her friend and that I'm a practitioner, and IDLife came into my life. So I love it.
Well, Angie, you touched on something. IDLife does have a free health assessment. That assessment takes roughly 5 to 7 minutes to take. And what's interesting about it is it's going to give you basically an outlay of exactly what you need. And of course, it gives you the scientific why behind it. But you touched on something that I always say is the most important thing that IDLife provides, which is a free assessment that will block you from taking the things that could otherwise be harmful to you. Because, we live in a society, especially the men in our society, that if something's good, more must be better. And unfortunately, that's not always the case, as we know. And there's a lot of people that are taking supplements because a friend said this works for X.
Yes.
And we run into every day people that are taking supplements that are actually causing more harm than good. And one of the things that an assessment does is not only will it block it, but now you can actually see that it's blocked. So if you're taking something that's on the block list, you might want to find out. So even if you're not going to go down the path with IDLife on the vitamin side, at least take the assessment so you can determine whether or not you're currently doing something that maybe you should ask why. So Dr. Cantera, I'm going to ask you the same question. I love your thing there, Dr. K. That's great. But there was something that caught your eye. I know as a chiropractor down in the Houston area, you get approached with a lot of different things. In fact, your chiropractic school is basically a promoter of a whole nother line of supplements. What was it about IDLife that caught your eye?
Well, first of all, welcome everyone. This is so overwhelming and exciting to see everybody here tonight. So thank you for sharing your evening with us. Basically, one of the things I learned in school, and Mark, you will find that amusing, is that we as clinicians, we have to practice what's called evidence-based medicine. And if I ever have to face the firing squads, I have to be able to back what I'm doing with the research. But we're human too. We have families and obligation, and we don't always have the time to go read all the journals out there. So what first caught my attention is when I was told there's a health assessment that does all the work that I was spending 2-3 hours per patient trying to do, because I run blood tests and allergy testing and leaky gut. And I found myself that after a long day of seeing patients, now I have to sit down and go per lab and try to look up the research and grab a vitamin from here and a vitamin from there and mix and match and hope that I'm doing the right thing, because it's all goes part of their medical record. So when the idea of a health assessment that a patient can answer 30 questions and cross-reference the research within minutes and gives me a numerical health score that I can set up as a foundation to how I can move the patient upward, and then actually get a free health report, which I call the GPS navigator to better health. So basically all the patient has to do is grab that and read and know where they have to go, plus decide what part of the day to take the vitamins in the morning. I had so many patients that get so excited when I ask them what supplements they're taking, and they tell me they're taking vitamin A and D and K all, and I ask them, when do you take it? And they go, in the morning. And obviously there's the right time to take the vitamins. And that whole assessment gave me the opportunity not only to function in an evidence-based approach in my clinic, but also to go home at 7 o'clock and see my family instead of being at the clinic till 10, trying to figure things out, and equip the patient to be able to go home and do what they need to do to get better while they're home in between their visits.
You know, Krista, you get a chance to see a lot of people that walk into your gym, and the one thing that I do know in talking to a lot of gym owners is there's everything from the person that's tried everything and they're going to give this one more shot, to the person that I will say is currently on a bicycle and wants to jump on the Ferrari, so they want to go 0 to 100 immediately. But just kind of give me kind of a normal day in the gym, if you will, of the new people that walk in and the tools and resources that IDLife provides you to basically help those individuals.
How much time you got? Just kidding. So it really allows me to help them in all the areas. And you kind of summarized it and said what I would say anyway, is that there's multiple people. Like, we have some people who are athletes and they want a pre and post workout. We have some people that are just, you know, a mom who's trying to survive and have more energy. So it gives us all the tools needed. And then I have the confidence to be able to know that I'm giving them the right products, if that is kind of what you're asking.
Yeah. So is there anything in particular? I mean, obviously, you know, owning a gym, there's a lot of people that have different goals, different aspirations, everything from weight loss to weight management to, you know, who knows? And they walk in thinking that there's an issue. Like, for instance, we all know that, you know, one of the most important things for weight loss is actually proper sleep and proper hydration. But a lot of people come in looking for, you know, some other type of super pill or potion or lotion or something like that. So tell me a little bit about the tools and things that that IDLife provides you, that provides you the opportunity to educate them on I guess, the bigger picture of how the habit has more of an impact than necessarily the product.
Yeah. So at our gym, we do a lot of one-on-one nutrition coaching, which helps with that. And we'll sit down with them and find out what they're currently struggling with, so we know where to help them specifically. But one of the questions we do ask in that initial consult is, what are you currently taking, or what have you taken in the past? And a lot of the initial fixing is replacing some of those terrible things that they're currently consuming, like Red Bull in the morning for energy, and I'll try not to name drop, but terrible pre-workout drinks and things like that. So being able to have a solution pre-workout, the pre and post workout, those are absolute game changers in our gym. We get pretty much everyone on that. Just because it's most pre-workouts on the market are just a caffeine overload, and they don't really do anything to help you with your workout in the gym. So knowing that the pre-workout that we have actually has the ingredients that they need, And I know I've told AC this before, but what I used to do is take like my caffeine and then have my BCAAs and my creatine, and I would mix all that into my shaker bottle. And then when I saw what IDLife provides, I'm like, hey, that's everything I need in one. Like I just have one scoop and I'm good to go. So having that pre-workout and then the post-workout, knowing that my clients are able to recover and get back into the gym and maximize their results. Those are the two things that we get people on most of the time.
That's awesome. Well, Angie, I know that a lot of people come to you because they really are frustrated. They are in that phase of life where they literally do feel like they've tried everything, and they basically found you either organically or as a referral. But one of the things that you've done, I think, better than a lot of people is you've incorporated the genetic science, if you will, that IDLife offers into your practice to get some people some results that they didn't anticipate, because you had to, I guess, uneducate them on things they had been educated on with regard to how their body was made. So why don't we talk about that for a little bit?
Yeah, all day, every day. So when our clients come in, many of them are completely lost. And I mean, I'm going through menopause myself. I get it. Different phases through our lives, our body changes. And like Hamid, we do full panel blood work because we want to know where people are at when we start as a practitioner. However, that's a moment in time, right? So it's not engraved in stone that that's their future. We can change that as we help them change their lifestyle, their habits, getting back moving again. So when we looked at when the genetic side came out, for us, that was a game changer, because the blind leading the blind is kind of what you're doing if you don't know how the body is meant to optimally function. And so what we do is we help people that are coming in who, some of them, they've got a lot of good stuff going on. They've got things in control, but we also get people that come in and they don't even know where to start. And IDLife has really offered a product line instead of having like Hamid pulling from different things and like what I used to have to do. And Krista having to always pull all these things together to get what you want. We are so able to simplify the process because it is overwhelming. And so by taking the DNA component to this and being able to see, once we help them get to a healthier place, lose some of that weight through some of the tools and the products that IDLife has, now we have the DNA component. And that really is the GPS, kind of like the nutrition, but now it's the GPS to how your body is meant to work. It's your roadmap for how your body is designed to operate on a high level and maximize your efforts, maximize the food that you're eating, maximize the workout, maximize the nutrients that you're taking, and stop guessing. Because really, if you don't know how your body is designed to operate, it's a revolving door. You're never going to hit a home run easy. You're going to have to keep hitting that ball and hope and pray that this one time it's going to work. So for us, the DNA has been a game changer, and it's a staple with our patients that are coming into our practice, especially for overall health and weight loss, for sure.
So Hamid, I want to ask you, because you are unique in the way that you practice, in the sense that you basically try to get baseline information, scientific baseline information, because you said you actually follow a scientific method in your practice. But you also are one that always does the follow-up as well to make sure that what the patient is actually doing is having an impact in a positive way. Why don't we talk about a little bit about that and how IDLife is kind of fits into that?
Good. So a lot of it is when a patient comes into the clinic, we screen them. And the IDLife health assessment is a screening process, not just when a patient comes in for nutrition, even when a patient comes in for chiropractic care, because a lot of times the reason people are coming in for chiropractic care is because either they are overweight or they're fatigued or stressed. They have a lot of other things going on in their lives. They don't exercise, they're overworking. And what we're finding out, or at least what I found out over time, is that I can adjust the patient so often, but because their body doesn't have what it takes to hold that adjustment, they're feeling better for an hour or two or a day or two, and then they're coming back going, I'm back to where I was. So the health assessment with IDLife that offers, it becomes a screening tool for me. And from there, sometimes we have to operate and do blood tests. So I do vitamin deficiency testing or delayed allergy testing or leaky gut. And then we look at what we're doing. When we started with IDLife 7 years ago, I was so excited about it, but I'm analytical, so I needed to know. And so I picked a handful of patients that were regular for me. And I said, hey, we're going to screen and see how your body respond to specifically the IDLife vitamins, because I need to know too how well it works. And what we've done is we've done micronutrient testing. That's a white blood cells, not the standard blood testing that you do at the medical offices. And we looked at deficiencies, and then we put them on the IDLife vitamins. And I've had few that stayed and were faithful to the process. And then we redid the test, and we saw incredible increase in their vitamin deficiency, and they began to level up. Whereas some people were not faithful to the process because they decided it's more convenient to go across the street and just pick up stuff off the shelf from the local stores. We saw that their condition were getting worse. And yes, there are other elements that works into play, their habits, whether they're exercising or not, and so forth. But looking from a micronutrient deficiencies testing from white blood cells, I realized early on in the game that when I put someone on IDLife vitamins, because they were personalized to them, it was using the research, it was using the evidence, they were responding to it. And that was good because it took, well, one, it took a lot of work off of me. Instead of me spending an hour having to work on building their vitamin list, I can focus on counseling them on where they need to go exercise, where they need to go change their dietary habits, and so forth. So having that early on reaffirmed the fact that choosing IDLife was a game changer for me in my practice. And it was a game changer for the patients who trusted me to get on the product, whether it's the shake or the vitamins, and let the process work itself out.
You know, I was a pitcher in college, and one of my best pitches was a curveball. So I'm going to throw each of you a curveball now that you didn't know was coming. So so get ready. And Hamid, I'm going to start with you. You've talked about what it's done for your practice, but tell us a little bit about what IDLife has done for you personally.
Okay, so a lot of people don't know that back in 2010, I was actually diagnosed with metabolic syndrome, and the medical community classified me as diabetic, shipped me off to a diabetic clinic. I was struggling to get out of bed every morning. I'm not going to tell you what time I show up to work. And at noon, I would just can't wait for lunchtime to go and sleep for an hour in the car just to make it till 5 o'clock, only to go home and crash again. And it was a vicious cycle. And it hit me hard when I found out that I wasn't getting better going back and forth to the diabetic clinic. And one day I asked the doctor, her name is Sarah, I said, Dr. Sarah, what are we doing? And she's like, what do you mean? We're managing your diabetes. And it hit me hard because all of a sudden I'm like, that's not my diabetes. I don't want to be identified by a disease. So I had to take control of my own health and manage my health, not my diabetes. And it took a lot of work. I had to sit down and calculate dietary ingredients and fix my carbs. And then I had to go exercise, which was a struggle. Fortunately, I was able to get off all the medication. And now 10 years later, I have not had to take any of those. And no, by no means I'm cured. I still have that metabolic syndrome, but I'm able to be empowered by taking advantage of a medical science that will help me manage my health better. It's like taking insurance on your car. It doesn't mean you may not get into a car accident, but if you do, you have that available to you. And IDLife, just on a personal level, had helped me in that aspect, that now while I'm focused on taking care of patients, IDLife is taking care of me. And that's a lot of things a lot of people didn't know about, that I had to go through it. But also when I went back to private practice, because I realized that if I, as a chiropractor who studied a little bit of nutrition, who know about anatomy and physiology, had to go through that, what about the single mom that is struggling, working 80, 90 hours a week, trying to take care of her family, or the father that is working 2 jobs, trying to take care of his family? I needed to come in and empower him. So, and that's one of the reasons why I opened my wellness center, to go beyond chiropractic. That's why I ended up getting certified in functional medicine. to be able to help. But I found myself going through life challenges. And just to name one thing is, well, for one, I didn't have to stock wall from one end to another with vitamin bottles and put cash on the shelf that I had to push out the door quick because that's can expire and I don't want my cash to expire. So now I didn't have to worry about inventory. At some point, I was thinking about I need to hire a nutritionist to help me. Well, I don't have the budget for 40, 50,000 a year to dedicate to a nutritionist just so I can go home at 7 o'clock. So just from that aspect, IDLife came in and start helping me plug a lot of leaks. But one thing we faced with at Harvey, when we had Hurricane Harvey in Houston and we were shut down for a week, I watched some of my colleagues literally go out of business because they couldn't keep up with paying the rent because the landlord still wanted the rent. But the fact I had IDLife on this side, I had, and I'm going to be open here, and I had a nice passive income coming from here that I was not worried at all. And now that we find ourselves with COVID, with patient flow going up and down, I find again that IDLife is a perfect marriage between helping me taking care of patients' health, but also from a business perspective, helping me make sure I keep my doors open to help patients who otherwise no one's going to help the right way.
So Angie, I'm going to ask you a different question because you were preparing for that one. So, it wouldn't be a curveball if it was the same question. IDLife provides something else for people, and that's community. And I know the IDLife community has meant a lot to you. I know a lot of your good friends are in this community, but talk to the community aspect of IDLife and what that provides and what you get out of that.
Wow. I don't want to cry. I want to be happy. Wow. So I have a lot of friends. Most of us do, but there is one thing when you get to meet some of the people across the board in IDLife, everything from the corporate team and staff and everybody, there is such a pure heart and soul and willingness to just want to help each other and help anybody that we can move in the right direction. If it's personal development, if it's personal finances, if it's health. I feel so fortunate to have been in IDLife when Stieg and I did, my husband and I. My husband didn't want me to do another company like this because honestly, there wasn't a culture in any of the other companies that I was involved with. And actually, I was kind of frustrated a lot. I complained a lot about those companies. And then he went to an event with me, my first event, and he couldn't wait to get home and get started. And together we have met some of our best friends are all across this country in IDLife. And I mean, I talk to a lot of them on a regular basis. AC and Dana are like brother and sister to me. I mean, we visit each other, we travel together, we cry together, we laugh together. If I didn't make a dime in this company, I would still be involved just to be part of the community. It's amazing. And, IDLife, kudos to everyone at the corporate level. And I mean, everyone is always so gracious and so willing to help us on whatever level that is. So I'm so grateful.
And now I can see Krista's face getting a little nervous because she has no idea what I'm about to ask. So Krista, I'm going to ask you, what has the IDLife opportunity meant for you and your family?
Oh man. So we, like you mentioned in my intro in the beginning, we own a gym outside of Houston, and we've been successful with our little tiny bubble, and being able to help people within like a 5-mile radius. But we're also a CrossFit gym. You guys are familiar with that. It's intimidating. It scares a lot of people away. So we really have this small group of people that we could influence. And I was only helping the people that could walk into my gym. So IDLife has really given me the opportunity to help absolutely anyone. So if I have friends and family across the United States, I have a solution for them. If I have people that walk into my gym that don't want to do CrossFit, but they still need to lose weight. I have a solution for them. So I think it's more of a personal thing, just wanting to help everyone. But I think that's the biggest thing business wise. It's given me something that I can help everyone with.
Well, on behalf of IDLife, I want to thank each one of the panelists tonight for being here. It's obvious that, one of the things that we attract is people with a servant heart, people looking to want to help other people. And I always want to make sure that I say that every time I talk about IDLife, because ultimately that is what we are here for. A lot of people, when they think opportunity, they think income. And while there's an income opportunity, the real opportunity of IDLife is to be able to reach out and touch someone in a positive way that puts them on a path that they have never been on before, so that they can get lifelong health with real answers, as opposed to some gimmicky thing that we are unfortunately flooded with all over the waves. This is going to become a regular thing, these holistic panels. In fact, the next one, if you want to write this down, is going to be August the 30th, 8 p.m. Central. This will go out again. So we're going to continue this path. August 30th, 8 p.m. Central. We'll have new panelists, new discussions. I think they're going to still have me as the moderator. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. But if I keep asking questions that they don't know are coming, who knows if they're going to want me to stay here or not. But ultimately, the best thing for you to do right now, if you heard something tonight that interests you, somebody invited you here. You found our little webinar because somebody cared enough about you to ask you to be here to listen. Get back with that person, talk to that person, find out what IDLife might be able to provide you. There's a lot of things that IDLife offers that don't cost you anything. They're literally free, and they can really open your eyes to the opportunity that IDLife can provide you as far as putting you on the path to the health that you've always wanted. So on behalf of the panelists, on behalf of the Canteras, who were the brainchild of this, more importantly, on behalf of IDLife, I want to thank you for being here tonight. And until next time, I'm Mark Bennett on behalf of IDLife. Thanks for being here.